Hello, everyone. Welcome to Now That's Love. And here's beautiful Rachel Wacaster. She's a friend that inspires me. And she is coming on today because she has written a book that I think so many will benefit from. It's called Creating My Own Path. And it's lessons from leaving the Mormon church and loving an addict. And she has so many inspirational lessons, but action steps at the end of each chapter with journaling or discussion points. So you might want to grab this with a friend. I would say if you've gone through maybe abuse in a marriage and death. She's also a warrior goddess. Yay. She's just deep dive into truly evolving her own healing and self. And she's also a high school teacher, Spanish teacher, and she's traveled. She's a traveler, which inspires me too. And she's a mom of two wonderful children that are on their own path. And she's been an amazing example for that. She's remarried. This has to do with the man that she was married to, Hiram, for quite a few years, and leaving the Mormon church. So she's also a yoga instructor, many, many hours. I want to turn the time over to Rachel because she's going to talk about parts of this book, some of the big key points of life lessons that she learned. And let's start off in 2008, Rachel, where you started to feel the anxiety coming on.
So the first chapter of my book is about my breaking open. So end of 2007, beginning of 2008, life just got to me. My anxiety, just so many years of putting others before myself, my husband's cheating, and just living with that addict slash narcissistic personality for so many years and being codependent in that relationship. And then on top of that, for several years before that, I had been serving as primary president in our ward in the Mormon church. And I was released and I just kind of felt lost. I was like, why am I here? I didn't really want to go to church anymore. So jumbling all of that together, um, I just kind of fell apart. I had my breaking open, and it came in the form of anxiety attacks, which caused a lot of physical symptoms like high blood pressure. I couldn't eat. I was losing weight. Um, and I wasn't sleeping. It's been a journey from that kind of playing around with what worked for me as far as medication if I needed it, um, and beginning to take care of myself. So, from my breaking open and during all of this is when my late husband and I decided to leave the Mormon church. And it was a big decision. It was, I think I say in my book, like probably like the hardest, biggest decision of my life. Um, Getting divorced from him, taking him back, all of those things didn't feel as hard as leaving the Mormon church. It was my way of life. So when Hiram and I made that choice, we made it together. We both searched the internet, we looked for things. I prayed. I don't know about him, but I prayed and I meditated over this decision for months before we decided what to do because we knew it would impact the rest of our lives. And looking back on that moment, I'm so proud of myself for choosing myself and choosing to create my own path despite what my family might think or what my late husband's family might think or what my whole community at that time was church. So it took a lot of strength on my part and conviction and courage to say, no, this is my truth. I know that I am a whole, loved, and divine being, and I'm choosing to express that in my own way. And some people couldn't understand that, and some people did. And it also allowed me to begin to find my own community, to find people that really did love me unconditionally versus that conditional love that I often felt in the church. If you're doing things right, then you have blessings, then you're loved, versus you are a whole divine being no matter what, which is what I've found on this path that I've created. That even if I mess up sometimes, even if I'm not perfect, I know that at the end of the day, when I come back to my true, authentic self, I am whole, I am loved, I am divine. And then I can choose to change those behaviors that maybe weren't the nicest things to do to myself or others. So it's been a really it's been a really fun journey. It's been hard. A lot of it's been really hard, and that's, I think, where a lot of us get caught up. We don't want it to be hard, but it's work. It is work. And sometimes when I look at people who just want it to be easy or just like these are the answers, right? Um, they're missing out on so much. I feel like when we create our own path and we're really searching and we're really trying to connect to our inner wisdom, that's when all the big lessons really happen. And that's when we learn the most. So,
That's
yeah.
one part I loved about the forward of your book of saying the gratitude for literally everybody that had given you could say suffering, but those are some of your biggest lessons that you just evolved and thrived out of it, like really gave you that push to what you really truly did want. And I know with knowing you that you are one that is a constant learner, growth mindset, and you're open to the truth in all things. Rachel, I wanted to list some of the chapters for the viewers on here because this book can be transformational in the end parts of your chapters with your memoir of like, here's the spiritual lesson that I learned from it and what worked for my soul through suffering. Oh my goodness. I can remember there's a part and I want you to hit on it a little bit. You and I are big readers. And so this is like breaking open the surrealism of life, living on purpose and with purpose. And chapter 4 will always be forever in my mind. It's clean up vomit. That's a very powerful chapter. And at the end, I kind of want to show you this because there's journaling and discussions. And then there's actionable steps. And I find that all the books I read, when they have stuff like that, and you really do take it to heart and do it, that's a book that really truly helps you evolve more on your own path. So, Rachel, talk a little bit about one of those chapters that really maybe was hard to write, or when you wrote it, you felt like there was some healing, even more healing that happened for you.
Mm, The chapter that always comes up is chapter 4, cleaning up vomit.
Mm.
Um, I think that it was hard and it was healing because as I looked back, I was like, oh my gosh, how did I do that? I mean, and Hiram was a big guy.
Go into details, like nobody knows about Hiram at all, like in,
Oh my
and then
goodness.
just what that day was
So
like.
Hiram, he um he played college football. A regular size for him was 6'2", 300 pounds. That was a normal size for him. At his smallest, he was 270. At his smallest. That was him like starving himself almost. Like he was just a naturally big guy. Um, and strong. He would push himself in the gym to bench 500 pounds, you know? So he was a big guy. So when I was writing that chapter, chapter 4, cleaning up vomit, and reflecting on it, my writing coach was like, okay, well, describe it, you know? And I was like, oh, you know, do I want to go there? And so really the last several months we were together were still pretty clear in my mind. And I could remember just how messy and gross and smelly. And any of you who have been an addict or, you know, have a family member that's an addict or in relationship with an addict, especially when it comes to opioids, a lot of the withdrawal symptoms, there's a lot of vomiting and it's not pretty. It's like he's serious. I mean, he wasn't doing it on purpose. Like it would just come up and he couldn't make it to the toilet. And so, I mean, I was scrubbing walls, I was cleaning carpets. Even when he would make it to the bathroom, sometimes it didn't make it in the toilet. So, throughout our time, like really the last 10 years of our life was where his addiction with opioids was more of an issue just because of his chronic pain and all of his injuries and his body just breaking. Um, and I looked back at that and I was like, how did I do that? And what I came up with is that, like I write about it in the book, is that finally I came to a point where I completely detached from, and this is from lots of work, right? Like he passed in 2018. So really that last year or so of our time together where I was active in the Warrior Goddess community and doing, you know, intense healing and spiritual work, I was able to just say, okay, well, this needs to get cleaned up, period. Like, I don't need my kids seeing this. I don't need them worrying about it. I just need to clean it up, period. And so that's kind of where I got to. There was no emotion attached to it anymore. There was no like, why is he doing this? You know, why me? There was no victim or judgment involved anymore. It was just um, really straightforward. I just need to clean this up, period. After I clean it up, I go back about my day. Um, and that was a big relief, like on my energy body, because I look back at how much energy I was expending going into victim mode or going into judgment about him and why is he an addict? Why can't he just be normal, right? Or judging myself about staying with him. Um, so when I finally was able to get to that point, it was a big relief. It was a
Mm,
really big relief for me because I was able to spend more of my energy in love and compassion for this man who I loved deeply, but was destroying himself.
yeah.
Um, and I knew his time on this earth was limited. I always had a sense of that. Um, and so I was able to have a deeper compassion for him and his experience because I'm so blessed. I have this really healthy body. I mean, sometimes, I get aches and pains or other things, but just watching him go through all of those surgeries and pain every day of his life for, I would say 25 plus years of his 42 years, he was in pain. And so a lot of writing was healing, but also just allowed me to reflect and see how far I've come and see how much healing I had already done. And I was able because my writing really started about 4 years after he passed. It I had healed a lot already that I was able to just write. And there wasn't a lot of emotion attached to it. This just simply was. This was my life, and this is what I learned from it. There was more positive emotion from it, like joy, the joy of seeing how far I've come, the joy of seeing how beautiful my children, have turned out, and just watching them and all the lessons that I've learned that I can now share with others and hopefully support them in whatever life has dealt them as far as, any trauma, addiction, religion, um, mental health, whatever life has, the obstacles that life has thrown. Anybody out there, my hope is that they'll be able to read my book and be inspired, have hope, and see that as humans, we are really capable of great things.
Yes. Thank you, Rachel. I want to mention too that you are evolving into doing your own retreats now. You're getting closer to retirement, and that how you push yourself into what the all knowing in your heart that you know that you want to do and serve this world through what you've gone through and inspiring others in the healing process. So you're a working wonder. I love
Mm.
it. It's very special. You're also doing yoga with the sound baths, correct? In some
Yeah.
places.
Yeah, we did one for the teachers at my school. And then last weekend, we did one at the Keller Point, and it sold out, so that was really exciting. And I just met with management at the Keller Point, and we're going to try and do them quarterly.
How neat.
So yeah, I'm just starting to expand and collaborate more and just to help support people with their self-care and their healing.
Yeah.
There's so many beautiful modalities out there to help support us. So it's really beautiful to see the community I live in opening up to experiencing these different modalities that can just bring so much peace and joy to people's lives.
Rachel, is there anything else that you would like to share from your book?
Um, I think the main message is, like the title says, is creating my own path. And we're each unique. I love the duality of life that we are each unique. We we all get to create our own unique path. And then the other side of that is that we are all one and we all have similarities and we can learn from each other and we can support each other. So I think the biggest message is just don't be afraid to open up to the possibilities, open up to different ways of being. I feel like a lot of times in our Western culture, we have this one certain ideal, like this is the way it's supposed to be. We have to look this way, we have to act this way, we have to have this job, we have to go to this church, whatever it is. But the truth is, none of that's true.
That's
You
right.
know?
You always have a choice. 100%.
Yeah, you
You
always have
never.
a choice. What society is telling us is simply that. It's not true. And what we get to do is find our own truth. We get to explore and investigate, study, and learn about whatever we want to. That's those are just like that, like Janae was saying, like I've studied astrology, I've studied Ayurveda and yoga, of course, and the Toltec teachings and warrior goddess teachings. And these are just things that kind of pulled me in. Like I saw it and I was like, oh, I want to learn more about that. And in the process of learning more about, whatever the philosophy or modality is, I've learned more about myself. And I've learned also about how to be in relationship with others and with this world. And
Mm-hmm.
it's been really helpful. It's been really helpful for me the more I learn about myself and those I love, it makes those relationships even more nourishing and just even my relationship with myself more nourishing. Like I had, this is my experience this week. Okay. So Sunday, I was teaching yoga and my hips and low back went completely out. Very painful.
Mm.
Very painful. If you've ever experienced that. I've experienced it before, so I knew exactly what was happening with my body. And I just sat down on my yoga mat. I was about halfway through teaching the class. I sat on my yoga mat. I took some breaths and I said, okay. I told my class, I said, you know what? My back just went out. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to guide you through the rest of our class. So I just told them what to do for about 10 more minutes. Then I brought them down to the mat where we could do our stretching. And I was able to move a little bit, but I was testing it out and it was bad. Like I could just feel those muscles in my glute medius and all around my low back just tightening up. And so when I got up, I said, okay, I'm going to need some help. So, of course, a beautiful class of yogis. There's like 20 of them. And some of them are my friends, outside of class. So one lady said, okay, I'm going to carry your mat and this bag because I always have a bunch of stuff with me. I have my purse, my yoga mat, and then my yoga mat spray bag, right? And so she carried that bag and my yoga mat so I could check out, and she got me to my car. One woman ended up being an acupuncturist, and she said, come see me. And I said, okay. So, for the next like 48 hours, I was really gentle with myself. I didn't have to teach any yoga classes, but I did have to teach school. So I was icing, heating, just being very gentle with myself. And then after about 48 hours, I went to the chiropractor, and that helped quite a bit. Um, Over the next couple days, gradually I've loosened up a little bit more. And today I went to the acupuncturist, and by the time I got to the acupuncturist, I'm feeling pretty good. Like I'm moving pretty good. But she said, "Yeah, she tested me out. She's like, "Yeah, you're feeling pretty good." But she wanted to give me a free visit because she just loves my yoga class. And so we worked on my sinuses because that's always an issue for me because I have really bad allergies all year round. And so we did the session. I've never done acupuncture before, so I was excited to try something new. And I asked her, "Are you sure? Like I'll pay you. I'm really grateful for this. Your offer of doing it for free, but I can pay you." And she said, "Nope, my compliments. Your first session is free." And she sent me on my way. So I feel like as we really heal and become more open, we get all of these blessings, right?
We
And the
really do.
blessing was me learning to stop my body. Okay, I'm just going to sit here. I'm not going to fight through the rest of yoga class and injure myself more. I'm going to sit. I'm going to be honest with them and say, like this has happened to me before. I know what's happening with my body right now. It's painful. I know why it's happening. I knew why it was happening because I sat on a hardwood floor for an hour straight during the sound bath because I didn't have anywhere else to go after I'd finished my yoga nidra. And so I knew that's kind of what triggered it, why my hips were tight and why my back went out. But then, all of these beautiful people said, I'll help you. I'll help you. Right. And I'm open to it. Whereas, 15, 20 years ago, I'd have been, no, 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 I can do it. I can do it. I can do it by myself. Right. I don't need help.
Yeah,
Um, and just that's been a part of my healing journey is really honoring myself, whether it's my physical body, my emotional body, my mental body, whatever part of me is needing my attention, but also honoring that other people want to help too. They want to be in service.
they
And
do.
they want to love me too. So why not allow others that opportunity to, because it's such a um it's such a high. It's
It
such like
is.
a beautiful divine high when you're able to be of service to people. Um Especially when you don't expect it,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. And if everybody would always tell us no when we want to help somebody, it would be like denial, of being able to share our love and our gifts. So that's so beautiful. And plus, you never know where that whole acupuncture thing, maybe that was what was needing to come into your life right now, as far as
Yeah.
it's the thing for your sinuses. So a blessing, like,
Yeah.
this is the way it's going to happen. We're going to have you have this
Yeah.
happen. And then a week later, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, this works for me. I find that in the retrospect, the reflection, which is something that's so beneficial, which you did so well with your book. My goodness, girly. I'm very proud of you. I'm so proud of
Thank
you.
you.
Again, this is her book. I'm going to put all of Rachel's links, her Instagram, her website, and her YouTube. I'll have the link and it'll just pop up her video. So you can just go right onto there. But this is her book that is so
Thank
helpful if you've gone
you.
through and you're
And
wanting
I
to
do want to
evolve.
honor Janae because she did help me with some editing this last summer. She was so kind to sit there as I read out loud, probably about at least half of my book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We got to
So,
chapter
and that
9.
was
Yeah.
just, it's a process for anybody that's written a book, like it's a process
It's a lot of
between
work.
the writing and the editing and re-editing and re-editing, the formatting, the publishing. It's a process. And it is like birthing a baby.
It really is.
It
It's a
really
work
is.
of
And I've
it's a work
birthed
of
two
love.
babies. So like I
You
can say
did.
like, the physical pain was not as much, but just like the whole
Mental.
process of birthing this book. And now it's my little baby and I get
It
to
is
share
her
it with
baby.
people.
I've gone over the action steps and the different journaling. I love, 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 y'all, the journal prompts and the discussion questions. I'm all about whatever I read. I like to talk about. Rachel knows this. She's
Mm-hmm.
a reader too. We're both avid readers, but and then integrating it into my life. If it feels like something that I would benefit from and grow from, I want to try it out. Rachel introduced me to Don Miguel, and that was life transformational. I mean, that was huge. And the beginning of like our amazing friendship, but we had it before. We were both part of the Mormon church. And unless somebody's been part of a church that's kind of like that, there's a depth to that. When she was describing leaving the Mormon church and really, really investigating, doing the research behind it, there's such a big reason behind us investigating and making sure, because of what we're told if we do leave. So it's very brave. It's very brave. And she lives in an integrity. She's an inspiration. And Rachel, I love you to pieces. I'll leave that.
Oh,
Much
that's
love to everybody out there. Bye.